Hi everyone, I'm Doan, and I'm watching one of my heroes of the equestrian sport, Isabelle Vert, winning yet another medal at yet another Olympics in Tokyo. The first time she won a medal was in Barcelona. I was there too. I didn't win a medal, but Isabelle has been a hero of mine ever since, because she's always exemplified that harmony of horse and rider that's so important to dressage and wasn't quite understood in the same way back in 1992. What is really clear to me is how beautifully sound and willing these horses are, how much dressage training, the quality of horses, the quality of the riders, has improved in the 30 years since I was in the Olympic arena. And it's so interesting that these horses have all got attitudes that just won't stop. So many of them, you see how much heart they have for what they're doing and how hard they try for their riders. But you also note not just how fantastic their quality is and not just how fantastic their training is, but above and beyond attitude, these are really, really sound horses. They are beautifully looked after. We didn't see it like that in Barcelona. There were a few that weren't quite as healthy as these ones are. Certainly the quality was less. But how do these riders manage to keep their horses in peak performance state year after year? Isabelle is riding a 17-year-old mare. I mean, that is an old competition horse in dressage. And the youngest horse at the Olympics, who also this year was 10 years old and also won a medal. The important thing about horse health and horse attitude is that it's really, really, really hard to maintain throughout a competition career such as this horse has had and such as this rider has had. And one of the things that has really impressed me lately, I've always been interested in alternatives, even when nobody else was, but I've really found that this Healy has helped me in my horses and the training that I do with my rider, and that it's really helping the horses' attitudes and their health. That's something that we all need. Let's talk about more horses in a minute, and we'll keep talking. Again, Doan once more. And we are talking about the Olympics that just happened in Tokyo, whereas my Olympics was way back in Barcelona in 1992. We just spoke about Isabelle Vert, who won her first medal at Barcelona, and I think it was 6 or 7 by the time she'd finished in Tokyo. But here's a rider who wasn't even on the scene back in Barcelona, who's come along very recently. One of the reasons that I'm so interested in her particular ride was that I had the youngest horse in Barcelona. I was the least experienced rider and I had the youngest horse, so that's a combination. But here's a very experienced rider with the youngest horse in Tokyo. And what an amazing job she's done with this horse. What a little pocket rocket this horse is. Here we see the internationalization of dressage, because she came along with, was brought along by her coach, who is Carl Hester, who is one of my favorite friends back in Barcelona days, back in my international competition days, because Carl was such a sweetheart, and he was so clearly a bird in a golden cage back then. Not everybody will know what that reference means, but one day I might talk about it more. He's brought on someone like Charlotte, and look at the talent. This girl is so amazing, so young, and the youngest horse at the games. So how do they keep the health and the attitude of their horses up? This is what really has always interested me in dressage. It's one thing to have a determined rider who loves their horse, who loves the sport, but how do you get a horse to love its sport? After all, these horses don't decide they want to be dressage horses. You sign them up for it. They get very well treated. Anyone would love a contract like they have. They have to work hard when they work hard, but the rest of the time, boy, are those horses looked after. I mean, massaged within an inch of their lives, the best vets. I had a friend who used to load her horses up in Germany on a lorry and take them to Holland just to have them shod every 6 weeks. We do everything for our horses' health and to keep their attitudes happy and healthy. And what you're seeing in Tokyo is how much that has succeeded. One of the things that's helping me with my horses in training now, I don't ride anymore, but I still work with horses, is my Healy. And I'm going to talk about more about that in videos to come. But let's focus on the Olympics now and just enjoy how good the sport is. Thanks. Hi everyone, Christine Doan. I'm watching the Tokyo Olympics, the finals, and the Grand Prix special. And it's 30 odd years since I was at the Olympics in Barcelona. So I'm really enjoying watching this because, boy, have these horses and riders improved. It is spectacular how good they are. But here's something interesting. Here's a young man who had one of the most spectacular horses who's ever come on the dressage scene and now is riding a son of that horse, Totalis. This is Total US. This is a spectacular horse and a strong young man. But who wins in dressage? Who wins these days? You don't have to be the most spectacular. You don't even have to be a man. Mostly it's the women who win the medals. How harmonious is the horse and the rider pair? How harmonious is the ride? How beautifully can they put the horse's footsteps to music if it's in a musical freestyle? So spectacular doesn't always win, strength doesn't always win, but what does win? I think what wins is great mental and physical health on the part of the rider and the horse. And when we look back at Isabel Wert, who again won medals at this Olympics, just like she did the first time in Barcelona, both Isabel and I were practicing unusual practices to keep our internal focus strong. She was into Tai Chi, and I was into all kinds of alternative everything. So I used to stand on my head in the stable aisles and sit and do my yoga and my meditation on straw bales, because it seemed to me that having my inner orientation organized, my mental balance, my emotional equilibrium was really way more important than anything else. And let me tell you, I was a wreck a lot of the time. It's really stressful being in international competition. Going to the Olympics, it's stressful. Many of these horses did quite a bad job on the first day. And what was the comment of someone else? Well, wait, they improved so much. I said, hang on, it's the Olympics, mate. Everyone gets excited at the Olympics. Everyone gets nervous. So keeping your mental orientation and your horse's mental ability to focus and stay with you and listen to your instructions, that's a really important part of really thriving, not just surviving, but really thriving in this really difficult sport. We'll talk about that some more. Hi everybody, Christine Doan here. I'm watching the Tokyo Olympics and thinking back to the time when I was in the Olympic ring at Barcelona. Gee, that's 30 years ago. And haven't I seen some improvements? But I'd just like to point out some of these really important aspects of what has changed deeply in dressage. And one thing is that we have these young riders, like this young woman who won the gold medal, the individual gold medal, even beating her teammate, Isabel Wert, who's won the most gold medals in dressage of anyone in the universe. She's very young. She's so young that I've actually never met her. I know most of these people, but I've never met her. And isn't it interesting how these young people have such a great mindset and such great training, and they really can flourish in the dressage arena? I mean, when I think about it, I competed with Laura Fry, who is the mother of Lottie Fry, who was on the team for Great Britain, which won the bronze medal in the team event. Some of these people are just so gifted, but they really work on their interiors as well as their sport, as their physiological sport. And how is it that you keep that edge? How do you keep the edge in your horse? Because the edge has to come from that horse You look at this one, how relaxed the horse is, doing these incredibly difficult movements. It hardly swishes its tail. It keeps its ears forward and then flicking back and listening to its rider. It pays strict attention to what she's saying. How does she manage that kind of communication with her horse? How does she keep her horse in an emotional state, not just a physical state to be able to do these amazing tricks, but an emotional state able to give its best at the moment where the pressure is on? Well, I've worked with a lot of alternative therapies over the years. I started in the 70s, and pretty much then I had to learn almost every alternative bit and piece for humans and then transmogrify it for horses, because there wasn't anything for horses. These days there's everything for horses. Everything from acupuncture to chiropractic to everything you can think of. Fantastic veterinary stuff, homeopathics, everything you can think of that's an alternative way of keeping healthy and happy is available to horsemen as well these days. But what I've found recently is that there's a better way, and it's frequencies. And I'm using this particular frequency machine. I want to talk more about that because I think it's helping my horses. They aren't here yet. They aren't at the Olympic level yet. I hope they will be soon. It helps my horses and my rider keep mental equilibrium and physically fit. Thanks.